All right, Super Bowl 45 might be the last NFL game that we get to see for a while. The collective bargaining agreement is expiring in March. The odds look like there's going to be a lockout. I would think if I was handicapping the odds, I would say that there is going to be a lockout, and it is going to affect at least a part of the 2011 season. I think that both sides are just dug in, 180 degrees away from each other, and nobody seems willing to compromise. And there's a chance here that they could kill the golden goose. There's, the NFL, the sky's the limit with this league, and they've got so many, untapped markets, LA and Toronto, and places they could put a team where it would just increase exponentially the amount of revenue that they make. But the owners are really steadfast in the fact that they can't make any money with the player salaries as high as they are. They want to reduce them by $1 billion. And obviously, if you're a player or the union, you're not going to want to do that. So it's going to take a lot of sitting down, compromising. We've seen seasons be canceled before in other sports. And baseball, there was injunctions from judges before they actually finally were forced to come to an agreement. And then in the NHL lockout, obviously, the owners won. I have a feeling that the owners are going to win this one just because of the way the finances are shaken out. The owners have a bunch of money in reserve, and they're not going to have any expenses. But it's going to be weird without football. If I am in fact correct, and there is no football next year, at least for a part of next year, it's going to be weird. I don't know what I'm going to be watching. What do you guys think?
Women's basketball.
Well, no women's basketball for me. But Dan, I hear what you're saying, that they are dug in. The owners really have dug their feet in, and so have the players. But the owners aren't stupid. They're billionaires. They've taken the NFL and turned it into the best franchise in sports. They play 16 games a year as opposed to 162 for baseball players, yet somehow they pull out these massive profits. The fact that they say they can't make money, it's bullshit. These agreements they have with the networks are lucrative. The merchandise sales, they're a monopoly. They're the only supplier of football in this country, aside from college football.
They've definitely.
So it's a big.
Took exception to that.
I agree.
Next.
What I meant is they're the only professional league.
They've passed baseball for sure as America's predominant sport.
2-1.
2-1, really?
Absolutely, and you've got Jerry Jones paying $1 billion to put up a stadium. These guys have money. They're not stupid. They know what they've got going. I think in the end, there's going to be a lockout. It's going to affect training camp. It might affect the preseason. And for, who knows, it could last a game or two into the regular season. But I think these guys are too smart to jeopardize the season they've got. And I see it playing out, and that they...
So what would you say the odds of a lockout are?
Well, I think the odds of a lockout are about 100% if we're just talking a lockout starting with training camp. Because the lockout starts in, what, March?
Yeah.
What would you say the odds are of us not seeing again?
At least one game. I'd say it's probably 30-40%. I mean, those are substantial odds. I think that's pretty bad if the odds are that high. But I really... I think there's a better chance than not that they get it resolved and that we're playing football in week 1.
One question, do you think that they're going to go to the 18-game schedule? The owners want that bad, and the players are really fighting it.
Well, I might be mistaken, but this week I saw that the support for that is actually has fallen. That there's a less
even on
chance.
The owner's side?
On the owner's side, yeah.
Okay.
And I think it's really, look at the season, look at all the injuries, look at how many people get hurt. You'd have to have some sort. First things first, you'd have to put at least one other bye week in there for every team. There'd have to be something to offset the extra games. Take off a preseason game. Well, I've said enough though. I think Pete D needs his chance, so let's turn it over to him.
All right.
I think the season's going to start on time. There might be a lockout in the beginning, maybe affect training camp, but NFL's at an all-time high right now. The sky's the limit, as Dan said when he started off this talk here. And Gordon Gekko, Michael Douglas's character in Wall Street, said greed is good. We all know that's a bunch of bullshit. Greed is bad, and I think everyone knows it. Season will start on time. That's all I gotta say about that.
That's definitive.
Yeah, I would say, Pete, I agree with you. I think, though, there's two things that we need to keep in mind. One, if the NFL isn't in play next year, college football will be. So look for the Flamma to be giving you the hits on that. Sorry, that's a shameless plug. But the other thing
Go Wabash.
Yeah, exactly. take into account, everyone says the owners are saying they're not making money. That's bull. The owners are making plenty of money, and everyone knows it. But the owners make money, and they got rich by not giving in. And the thing is, I agree. I don't think they're greedy to a point where that they're going to sacrifice the golden goose. I don't think anybody in their right mind would do that. But they got rich somehow. They got rich somehow. So when you negotiate, if I'm an owner, I throw everything on the table. I'm like, I want lower salaries, I want an 18-game schedule, I want more revenue opportunities, and you know what? I'm going to get half of it at least, and I'm going to win. And so I think they're just putting pressure to bear. And if you think about the players, I think the players are exactly right to want better health care. I think they're very deserving of that. I mean, I think of all the sportscasters out there, I think the most articulate one on this issue is Schlereth from ESPN, because he's a union rep, but he also had like 85 surgeries on his knees, and he speaks from the heart. And when he stays unemotional about it, he's actually by far and away the most eloquent as it relates to the real issue the players have. It's not so much the 18-game season. It's the fact that the NFL needs to do a better job in taking care of those that have stayed in the league. But the other thing to consider is, and I'll end with this, the owners know something that the players wake up to every morning, and that is there is a finite amount of time you can play in the NFL for 95% of them. Brett Favre anomaly, right?
Right.
Quarterbacks that are legendary.
Was it, 4
anomaly.
years?
Yeah, it's 3.
3.
The average career is actually less than 3 full seasons. Now you think about that. Do you want to give up a year career as an average player? You really want to give it, and the owners know this. And you think about how many, I mean, listen, the National Signing Day has become a spectacle, right, for college football. It was just happened last week. Florida State came out of nowhere, second top 5 recruiting class. Alabama, Auburn, all these schools keep churning out talent after talent. This is America. That everybody wants to play football. You could literally restock the NFL tomorrow with the SEC.
Yeah, good point.
And these guys that are in the NFL right now are a year older, a year slower, a year more battered and bruised. Do you really want to give up a year of earning power for what? To play 2 more games? And the owners have them exactly where they want them. I think we play football next year.
Hey, Fran, I actually have a question for you, being the college guy. With the potential lockout, you're the one that wrote the article about the Illini losing 3 of their best players to the draft. What do you think about these players leaving early when there might not even be a draft or a season next year?
Well, I think it's a great question. I think every player leaves for their own reasons. Illinois in particular, because Scott and I are both kind of Big Ten and Illinois specific homers, as it were. I think that I think all 3 of those kids made the right call for them in their personal circumstances. I think that defensive tackle used an unbelievable game against Baylor, kind of like Fairley did in the national championship game. Dude, if I were the Bears, 2nd, 3rd round, I'd pick that kid up. If he's sitting there, he's hungry, he's a big dude, he was killing Baylor. But if you've got to take the chance. I think it was Charles Barkley who said you only get a certain number of jumps in the NBA. Right. I think you only have a certain number of hits in the NFL and in football to begin with.
Oh, for sure.
And it's like, listen, why go through, if you're already going to go pro and you're guaranteed, not necessarily first round, but first 3 rounds, you don't see a lot of those kids getting cut. So it means you're going to make you're going to get a contract, you're going to make the team, they're going to make sure you make the team. If I'm any of those kids, I give it a shot.
As long as there's a season.
Yeah, but think about it. It's like, what a gamble that is. They're still going to be on the block.
Right, sure. They're still the same guys.
But it would just be a diluted pool of talent.
The danger is falling too far out of playing.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, because these kids don't have money. Yeah. They're banking on being drafted.
Yeah.
If they're undrafted and not playing because they declare with the draft, maybe they sign with an agent.
There's no way the NFL draft isn't going to happen. There's no way they're not going to.
They're going to do the draft.
Yeah, for sure. There's no. I mean, that in and of itself makes the NFL billions of dollars just in and of itself. The combine
I guess,
coverage from all that. I mean, the combine last year in Indy was the highest rated show on television for 9 hours straight. So sorry.
Well, I guess. And I don't know how the CBA applies to the draft. They may have it. I mean, you're saying you're 100% sure they'll have it, but even if they do have it, can they sign? They can't sign any contracts if there's no collective bargaining.
But at least they know where they're going when it does.
And I guess that means next year they don't have to have the stress of being in the draft again against other people.
Exactly.
So, okay, fair enough.